Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let me show you some quick and simple ways that you can improve your photos in the Mac Photos app. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 2,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Once you have a photo in the Photos app on your Mac, there are a ton of different ways that you can alter the image. But you don't have to adjust a whole bunch of different things just to improve your photos. In fact, a lot could be done with just a single click. So let's start off with the obvious one. You can use the button here, which is called Auto Enhance. If you click that, it's going to try to apply a bunch of different changes as best it can to try to make the photo look better. So I'm going to try it here, and you can see it brightens the photo up, adds a lot more contrast. It definitely looks better than it did before. I'm going to use Command Z or Edit Undo to undo, and you can see that's what it looked like before. And then I'm going to click the button again and you can see the changes. Now, just like with everything else I'm going to show you here, just because the button is supposed to make the photo look better doesn't mean it actually looks better to you. So with every one of these, it's important to try it, decide whether you like the original or you like the new one with the changes. You can always undo the change. As a matter of fact, if you go into Edit, there's a Revert to Original button. So all the changes you make are non-destructive. Now, most of the tools you need to use are deeper than just this one button here. You need to click the Edit button to go to all the editing tools. Then you've got three sets of tools: Adjust, Filters, and Crop. So the first one I want to show you here is under Crop. It's not actually cropping the photo, but straightening it. Or you may think of it as rotating it. Straighten is the same thing as rotate. If I move that line to the right or to the left, you can see how it rotates it. It also gives me those grid lines there. So I can easily try to straighten a photo, say to match the horizon or the floor or ceiling in a room. In this case, I've got the water. If I set it to the original, you could see that it's not level. That's because I'm sitting in a kayak when I took this. But with a little bit of adjustment, using those lines there, I can get it more or less even so that the water and the line below it are basically at the same level. So now I've straightened the photo. It was a quick and simple change, and now I think the photo looks a lot better. But of course, you can also use the crop tool. And obviously you want to crop things out of the image that you don't want. But even an image like this can benefit from some cropping. So I'll go to Edit and then Crop here. And the way to crop is to grab any of these corners to crop out some of the edges. Now notice when I do that, I get this grid. And it's basically giving me a chance to use the rule of thirds. The idea here is in this grid, I want to try to put objects of interest at the intersections of those lines. So for instance, right here might be a decent place to put this. But let's try this one. And I already don't like that because the bird's facing now away from the center of the photo. But if I use this one and then I wait for it to expand like it did there, I could always go back and grab these edges and drag them back out. I do like this one because it kind of balances things out. It puts the bird there at one of those intersections, and it has lots of other interesting things in the photo. It's nicely framed. So I think this is an improvement over the original photo. But again, like with all the rest of this, if you don't think it's an improvement, simply don't use it. These are all things to try. Just because they're there doesn't mean they're always going to make the photo look better. Now another section under Edit is Filters. And filters are great for setting a mood. So you've got a photo like this, and here's the original. I could use Vivid or Vivid Warm, Vivid Cool, Dramatic, Dramatic Warm, or Dramatic Cool. The rest of these are black and white ones and probably not ideal for this particular photo. But each of these kind of conveys a slightly different mood. Sometimes if you've got a good photo but you want to make it even better, you may want to try one of these and note that you can actually adjust how much the effect is applied. See this little meter here? You can drag it in so you can have it be dramatic warm but only half the effect instead of all the effect. Now let's start talking about adjusting brightness and colors. If I go to Edit here and then I stick with the adjustment tools, there are a ton of different tools here. And each of these expand and then expands even more. So it can get kind of overwhelming. But you can easily use some of these auto buttons to do things. So white balance is one of the things where you can just click auto. And what white balance tries to do is to make the photo look more realistic. And just clicking the auto, it's worth doing, especially in a photo like this where the colors look a little bit too vivid maybe things are a bit off. If I click auto here, it does an adjustment. And now for this photo, it kind of looks more real to me. So if you try this and you think it's good, you keep it. If not, you can use the undo button here. Click that and go back to the original. Now when you go to edit in a photo, the first section here is light. And you can click the auto button there and it will auto adjust the light. Notice you've got this button here at the upper left hand corner. If you click and hold that, it will show you the original, and then you release and it shows you the new version. So you could really quickly switch between these to see which one you like better. Now in addition to auto here, there's also under light and then under options, brilliance. And I find that moving brilliance up sometimes can really make a photo look a lot better. Now maybe if this is a vacation photo of you and your family, this isn't what you're going for. But if you're trying to post this online and grab people's attentions, either in an Instagram post or as a YouTube thumbnail or something like that, then moving brilliance up can be a quick and simple way to achieve that. Now shadows are always a problem when taking photos. The sun's not always shining in the right direction. However, you can lessen that effect if you go into light and under options, you've got highlights and shadows. These are kind of opposites. So with shadows, I can make the shaded parts brighter. So watch what happens when I adjust that up. You could see this area here that's got the shadow gets brighter. Just going to 0.5 up and then taking the highlights, the lightest parts of the photo, and bringing that down 0.5 and then bringing brightness up 0.5 to kind of compensate for the fact you brought down the highlights. Of course, the shadow is still there, but the effect is less. Let's go and toggle this back and forth and you can see how dark that shadow looks here compared to now. So the shadow is still there, but I saved the photo a bit by bringing some of the light out of the shadowy areas more. You can see a lot more detail in my face in the shadow areas with these settings. Now let's talk about adjusting color. The reason I took this photo in the first place was because I thought the leaves look very bright green against the white background. But the photo really doesn't show that. However, I can make it look more like I remember by adjusting color. So I'm going to go into the color settings here and I can go into options, but instead of that, I'm just going to use this big adjustment here that will adjust all of the color and move it to the right. Now, if I move it all the way to the right, it's going to make the colors ridiculous. You can see how it's even bringing out some yellows on the wall. But if I move it just a bit to the right, I can get that green to pop out. It even did a good job adding some color here to the trunk of the tree, as you could see when you compare. You could go into options if you really want and adjust the saturation even more. Now let's talk about retouching photos. A lot of times you do this on people to get rid of blemishes on their skin, but it could work in other situations as well. For instance, here's a picture of an interesting looking door and it looks great except that right here is this kind of modern looking label. It'd be nice to get rid of that, and you can do that using the retouch tool here. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to click on this button, the little paintbrush. Now I've got this circle that I could use. Notice I could adjust the size of the circle. I want it to be just a little bit bigger than what it is I'm correcting. So I'm going to drag down with this and cover that area and then release. And it's going to try to get rid of what was there and replace it with a similar texture. Now you can see how nice of a job it did getting rid of that blemish on this old door. And finally, let's talk about a tool that I don't use much, but some people like, and it's Vignette. It's the last tool here under adjustments. So you can open this up and you can use the auto button here to start, and it's going to set these to something. And what it does is it darkens the corners, basically creates a circle around the photo. And a lot of people like it because it creates a more dramatic look. You can adjust the strength here so I can see more obviously that it's there. The radius, the softness. If you think it makes your photo better, you can keep it. But Vignette is not for everyone. So there were 10 simple ways to adjust your photos in the Photos app to make them look a little bit better. And you can, of course, get more into these. There are a ton of controls. You can become an expert at making your photos look good by adjusting everything about them. But if you're not doing anything to your photos now and you want them to look a little bit better, it may be worth sometimes applying a few of these things to various photos when you think it makes sense. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.